Hello again, everyone. It's Gene with GTV, and we are back with episode 9. And with us today is Westlake head coach Bobby May. So those of you who are Georgia, Florida football fans would recall Coach May down in West Palm Beach. Well, he's now in Georgia. He's coaching at Westlake, and he's with us today in episode 9. He's in his third year at Westlake and his second year as the head coach of the Lions. Before that, he was the offensive coordinator, and he led the state in points per game as the offensive coordinator. So that's pretty impressive. In 2019, they went 7-4 and won the regional title. So it's quite a bio. It's quite a resume. So previously, he was the head coach at Suncoast High School in West Palm Beach, where he led the Chargers to their first district championship and the winningest season in 15 years, which is another impressive thing there in the resume. So I'd like to welcome Coach May. Welcome. Thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it, Coach. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
This is awesome. Getting to meet you up here, being up here a short time since the end of June, going into July. Everybody was talking about wait for the hot summer in Georgia. And, being from Florida, I laughed. I couldn't even find a mosquito up here because they were saying that the mosquitoes were going to be huge. The people that told me that need to go down to South Florida and go out into the Western communities. So anyway, and now it's chilling and the leaves are falling. So I'm getting used to this, the season changes. It's been awesome. And there's nothing better than having season changes and high school football. So take us back when you actually started your coaching career. When did it all start?
I started coaching right after college. I was a student assistant at the school I played for, Concordia. And then I went and I was a graduate assistant at Robert Morris University in Chicago. And then I was a position coach there as well, defensive backs coach there as well. That was in 2010 would have been my first year. And then I was at Robert Morris 2011, 12, 13, and then moved back down to Florida where I was at Palm Beach Gardens High School.
Okay. So this weather is no big deal for you. For me, it's kind of chilly. So you're kind of used to it. You're laughing at the weather here being from up there. So, okay. So you were at Suncoast and then you come to Georgia. So what was the move like from Florida to Georgia? You go in as an O coordinator and then you get a head coaching job. I'll get into that in a second, but what was the move like going from Florida to Georgia as a high school coach?
It was tough. I mean, I grew up in South Florida, and my wife, and at that point was pregnant, and with our first, and she had never been anywhere but South Florida, so it was tough. But it was a good move as far as career wise for both of us. I mean, I think we'll get into it later, but
right.
I think it's worked out so far. But it was tough to pull the trigger, but we're glad we did.
So it was a discussion over dinner kind of a thing, or was it a long drawn out thing, or
it was a long drawn out thing. I mean, we've been talking about it for a while and never really pursued it, and then just decided I was going to pursue it, and it happened pretty quick. It happened a little quicker than we thought probably, but.
Were you familiar with the area? Did you have an idea where you knew where you wanted to be?
A little bit. Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, I was more familiar with like the Marietta area.
Okay.
We're in Southwest Atlanta, but in Southwest Atlanta area, but I mean, I did a lot of research and things like that. You kind
of have to when you're doing a move out of state, especially career-wise. So
and I came up here 3 or 4 times before we moved.
Okay. So you come in at Westlake as the offensive coordinator, and you get some pretty good stats, in the wake of that. Did you expect to land the head coaching job as quickly as you did? Or how did that work out?
No, not really. Like I told my wife, probably be 3, 4, 5 years before I even start trying again or anything like that. But, I was the offensive coordinator, and then the head coach who was here before, we had a good year that first year, and the head coach took another job, and I applied for this job. And, obviously, like in a school system, things don't happen overnight. So kind of there was a little bit of in-between time where I didn't know if I was going to get the job or anything like that. So I really didn't expect it, but obviously it was something I took on and I wanted. But yeah, it definitely happened way faster than.
Yeah. Well, somebody had some confidence in you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, the athletic director here, Coach Green, and the principal, Mr. Robinson, had some confidence. So.
And it worked out. So once you stepped into that head coaching role, Did you bring a similar football culture from Palm Beach, from Florida to the program at Westlake, or were there some adjustments that had to be made? How did that work out?
Yeah, yes and no. I think Suncoast and Westlake are two totally different worlds. So there's not a ton of, I mean, football is football, but there's not a ton of kind of, I guess, similarities there. But more like a Gardens, I guess, as far as the type of athletes you're coaching and things like that. But I think football, like I said, is football. I think the best thing here is there's more resources and there's more commitment as far as, at least the schools that I was at, parent support and things like that, where you're not really restricted on practice times and things like that here as much as you were, at least I was down in South Florida.
Okay. Did you get the a fast buy-in from the players and coaches, or was
Yeah,
that a
I
little bit of a
think,
challenge?
yeah, I think the big thing, like, because I got here in January, the year before we played our first season. So I was here, you know, uh, over a year before I got hired, so I knew all the kids, and now the kids that are seniors are kids that I had in that second semester, their freshman year in class.
Okay.
And then also in weight training and things like that. So I had a really good relationship. And I think that's what got me the job, is that a lot of those kids went to our administration and told them that that's who they wanted to be their coach.
Right. Okay.
Had buy-in. You never have full buy-in. I think that first year, your senior class is always a little bit tough, but now this is the senior class that I started with as freshmen technically. So I think the buy-in's there. And basically, even though I was under the previous staff, we do have our differences in the way we operate and things like that. So there's obviously a little bit of changeover that takes place, but I think now we're finally in a good place, as far as buy-in goes and as far as
Right.
staffing and all that.
Right. Well, I think there's always a level of uncertainty, maybe, or I mean, you might have a level of confidence, especially with the guy that you choose to come in at the head coaching role. But there's probably a little bit of, okay, did we make the right choice? That kind of thing. But obviously they did. So there were some adjustments made with the staff
Yeah.
as you made that transition.
Yeah. So I didn't get hired until like late April, you know. I believe that the previous head coach Reed, I think he left in March, and then it takes a while, obviously. So, but kind of in between that time, you really can't do anything because you're not hired. You know what I mean? And so I was running weights and things like that, but obviously building a staff and all those things. So last year we had a really, really short staff. We only had about 8 coaches. Most of them were holdovers from the previous staff. A couple new ones, but we only had about 8 coaches. So now, fast forwarding to this year, even though with COVID and all those things, we have 18 coaches throughout the whole program. So,
Wow.
JV varsity. So I was able to build a staff and not that the previous staff wasn't competent, but it was small. And then, we had some issues where, like last year, our defense coordinator, he got a job out of state in the middle of the year. So I ended up having to do the offense and the defense. We lost 2 other coaches to personal reasons. So it was just a rough year coaching wise last year. On top of the fact that we had a really young team last year.
Wow. So you were a young team last year. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So this could be a breakout year for you guys. I mean, is that expected?
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I mean, we started about 4 seniors last year. 3 of them went to play Division I football, and one of them went to play Division II football. So they were talented, but lose much as far as numbers goes.
Right. So when you came into Westlake and you're the O coordinator, you're a new coach with a new program, you land the head coaching job. Did you have to become familiar with the history of Westlake football?
Yeah, I mean, Westlake pretty proud tradition. A lot of great players. I think at one point we're the most players from any school in the NFL. And it constantly produces talent, especially at positions like DB and wide receiver. I mean, every single year there's Division I players coming from those positions and other positions as well. Obviously Cam Newton and things like that. It's a proud tradition. People are proud to have gone to Westlake, and it's not just football wise. I mean, in general, it's academically, it's the best school in the area. And then athletic wise, I think we're definitely above the
right
average.
So let's talk a little bit about that. How is it different up here in Georgia from Florida? Some of the similarities that you may have seen over your last few years coaching in Georgia, and some of the things that might be different.
I think the similarities are, I think there's a lot of talent in both places. I think maybe like the high end skill talent in Florida is better, but I think the overall talent in Georgia is better. obviously Georgia's a smaller state, than Florida, but I think like if you take the average football team in Georgia and the average football team in Florida, that the Georgia team's going to win. Now there's really, really good teams in Florida, and there's some really, really good players, but I think what separates it is the the support. We have 11 coaches on campus, I think. When I was at other schools, it was nowhere near close in Florida. We have football class or weight training classes and things like that with all of our football kids. So I think a lot of those things are what separates Georgia, and I think overall makes Georgia better for football.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Did you guys play Deerfield Beach a couple years ago? I thought I read that online somewhere.
Yeah, my first year we went down to Deerfield, and that was one of the many years that Deerfield was just loaded, and it was we were actually that game was crazy. We were actually winning 15-10 with like 6 minutes left in the game, and then they ended up beating us like 35-15.
Wow.
We just fell apart at the end,
yeah.
And I guess their conditioning or whatever won. But yeah, it was like 15-10. I want to say like 5 or 6 minutes left in the game. And then they ended up, beating us by two or three touchdowns.
How do you put that together? Going out of state to South Florida to play a powerhouse like Deerfield.
Coach Reed, the head coach that hired me, he's from South Florida. Yeah, he was the head coach at Coconut Creek, and he's a South Florida guy, so he knew the coach at Deerfield. So
okay. So you put that whole thing together. That must have been a great trip for, of course you go down to Florida, you want to win, but that had to be a great experience.
It was fun. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. I mean, how many high school student athletes get to say they traveled out of state, to play a game?
Last year we went to Louisiana. We played John Curtis, who of course is a storied program in Louisiana. They have 3 state championships, and so we played them in Louisiana, and that was a good trip too. I mean, we lost again, but we stopped at Alabama, practiced their indoor and things like that. So.
Wow. But you know what? Okay. So at least, you're competitive, but what does that do when you play, perennial powers like that out of state? What does that do for your program?
I think the first thing is I think it exposes our kids to new experiences. I mean, we stopped at the University of Alabama. We went to Louisiana. We stopped at the Civil Rights Museum in Jackson, Mississippi. So it exposes them to new things that they haven't seen. We even, ate a bunch of foods that they'd never eaten before. In Louisiana, obviously they have some good food there. So, but it also exposes our kids on a national level. It exposes our program. And, even though we lost the games, it still puts us on a national spotlight because we're playing against, again, national opponents.
Yeah.
That has more state championships than anybody, I think, in the country. So.
Wow. Do you think that if there are guys that are on the fence about playing at the next level, they get to experience something like that might give them that little motivational shove that they might need to go, wow, this is really a big deal. I want to get into this.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because we treat them like, it's, like I said, I started in college, and it's basically, it's a college trip. We stay overnight in the hotel. We feed them, all the meals, and we treat it, the meetings and everything like that. They're treated like college players for that weekend or whatever it is. So I think it shows them, obviously there's a lot of work that goes into playing college football, but there's a lot of things that come out of it too.
Right. Let's get into your start this season. You come out of the gate, you're 2-0, back-to-back wins. It's a pretty good start. You lose your first game. Was it last week?
Yes.
Okay. So how do you get the team back on track? How do you keep them focused coming into this game Friday against Shiloh?
Yeah, I think, Hillgrove's a good team, but they're a kind of historical powerhouse in Georgia. But we lost that game in practice the week or really week and a half leading up. I mean, even before Johns Creek, we weren't really practicing very hard. So I think we just need to fix our practice habits, and we've done that. I mean, we've had our best week of practice by far this week. So I think we'll be fine. We just, that was another game too. It was close. We were winning in the beginning of the fourth quarter, and then we let it slip away from us. We didn't play well in a lot of spots, but I think that about this team compared to previous teams is we have senior leadership that's going to make sure that doesn't happen again. So sometimes you need to be kind of humbled and woken up, and hopefully that's the last time it has to happen. So.
Right. Well, I got a real chance to see you guys perform against Johns Creek. That was a thriller. I mean, it was just an incredible game, high energy. At least I thought it was. So I got a real chance to see you guys perform other than the practice. So that was awesome. And I'll admit, I didn't know anything about Hillgrove, so I had to look them up. And yeah, you're right. I saw that they're a very they're a known power. So talking about the leadership roles, who have been those players that have stepped up and taken that responsibility?
You know, we have a couple guys, but guys like Corey Dixon, who's a receiver, and Leo Blackburn, who's a receiver at tight end, have really stepped up into leadership roles. Guys like Rakai Law and Sedarius McConnell have all stepped up and taken on leadership roles now as seniors. And, you know, another guy like Jamon Hall, who doesn't say much, but he just does the right things and people follow suit. So we have a couple. I mean, again, they're kids and they all kind of, and the coaches allowed it, you know, that we all faltered kind of a little bit in the last week and a half or so. And maybe, you know, or definitely did not practice as well and focus as much as we should have. But like I said, it's going to happen in high school football where you're going to lose to a team you don't think you should lose to, and then hopefully you fix it.
Right. Well, you kind of look to these leaders on the team to step in and help keep the rest of the team focused, right, and keep them driven, keep them hungry. Is that helped? I mean, how have they responded after the loss to Hillgrove?
They attacked practice. I mean, they were mad. They I think they got in their feelings on Sunday after the meeting and stuff like that when we kind of put some kids out, but then on Monday they were ready to go. They realized, hey, you know, messed up. We all messed up, coaches included. So let's fix it and let's move on.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the players that, like you mentioned. Who was the receiver? Was it
Leo Blackburn?
Blackburn. Didn't he have a big game against Johns Creek?
Yeah, he had a big game against Johns Creek. Another receiver, Dakari Collins, had a big game against Johns Creek. And those guys have been probably our most consistent players on offense. Them and probably Zeke, our running back, have been the most consistent players on offense. And, you know, I think Leo had over 100 yards receiving against Hillgrove, and Dakari had 2 touchdowns against Hillgrove. So those guys, we know they're going to perform. And then other guys have been kind of, you know, here and there, but we're looking forward to getting a team performance, especially on offense. You know?
Right. Well, you guys, you know, my reference is Johns Creek, who is, you know, equally a well-coached team with Coach Helmrich over there, and they have a lot of talent. But you guys seem to move the ball, and doesn't it all start in the trenches? I always say that games are won and lost in the trenches. You guys seem to move the ball effectively through the air, but on the ground too. At times you just seem to dominate. Your running backs found the holes, and then they got some of the yards on their own as well. So talk a little bit about your line. I mean, you seem to have the size, and it seems like they have the skill set as well to create those holes and those opportunities for the skill positions to actually make the plays.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about that's going to separate us eventually here is our offensive line. Last year we started 3 sophomores on the offensive line, so now there's 3 juniors starting now. So they're still young, but they had a ton of playing experience last year. And then we have, you know, a left tackle who started every game last year, and then that other position is kind of a rotating kind of piece. And we have about 7 guys that we feel comfortable playing. It's just finding the right unit for that game. You know, it's going to change based on kind of who we're playing. And those guys have the potential to be really good. I think we're not quite there yet, but they do have the potential. Like you said, there's times where we're completely dominating, but then we'll get a penalty or something like that, and it brings us back. And I think that's been a big problem for us this year is penalties on offense. You know, we get a big play and then it gets called back for whatever reason it is. So offensive line wise, I think we're going to get better every single week, and I think by the time we get to playoffs, they're going to be a really, really good unit.
Talk a little bit about RJ, your quarterback. He seems to have composure back there. He seems to make some good decisions. He's mobile. He seems like a dual threat quarterback. How's he been so far this season? Has he met your expectations? Is he still growing?
Yeah, I mean, besides like the last 4 minutes of the Hillgrove game, he's been really, really, really special, and I think that's what he is. I think he's gonna be a special player, and he's smart, he's athletic. You know, he can deliver.
He has all the attributes. I mean,
yeah, he can make all the throws, and like I said, I mean, he's only a sophomore, so his ceiling is through the roof. And
he's a sophomore.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You have him for 2 more seasons.
Yeah. So he's been playing really, really well. Like I said, I mean, I think in general, if you just take away the last 4 minutes of the Hillgrove game, like, you know, he's been an elite quarterback, and I think, again, he's another guy that will rebound this week. And I think hopefully we'll have a breakout week for both sides of the ball, but he's the leader of the offense, and he can be really, really special.
And I would agree with that. How about the defensive side of the ball? You guys seem to be, real aggressive against Johns Creek. The defense stepped up when they needed to. Who are your guys on defense that just seem to be unleashed and just not letting up?
Our defensive line is really, really talented. Guys like Amir Williams, Horace Lockett, Sedarius McConnell. I already mentioned Jamond, and
Yep.
Guys like we have 7 or 8 guys on that defensive line that are really, really talented. DeAndre Myrick. So our defensive line is the key, and then our defensive backfield is really talented. Hillgrove was just one of those games where hopefully it never happens again, but they did not perform well in the defensive backfield. So we got to rebound from that. But, we definitely have some talent on the defense side of the ball. We're going to be aggressive because for 2 things, I think that we're confident in our abilities, but also we know that the offense can score points, when needed, obviously, if we play penalty-free and turnover-free football.
Right. Well, the way your defense plays, I wouldn't be surprised if your defense can put up some points as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We're looking to cause a couple more turnovers probably on defense, but our style of play is going to put people behind the sticks and, hopefully force a lot of punts. So, that defense can be really special.
Right. So what can we expect for Friday? You guys had all week to prepare. What are we looking at on Friday? You're going up against another former Palm Beach coach and Coach Tino. So I know you guys are familiar with one another. I think, didn't you play last year?
No, we did not. No.
Oh, was it the year before?
They played them
A couple seasons ago.
Here they played.
Okay. I would like to see a rivalry develop out of this, So what can we expect to see on Friday?
Yeah, it's funny. We were actually supposed to play Harrison last week, and Coach Dickman's at Harrison.
Yes. Yep.
And that game got canceled on Wednesday, and then we scheduled Hillgrove on Wednesday. So we're going to play 2 Palm Beach guys in a row. But
yeah.
Looking forward to playing Tino. His teams are always physical. They're always tough. They're always disciplined. So we're looking forward to playing those guys. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think, like I said, it's going to be a physical football game. And, hopefully we come out on top, and I feel confident we will, and as I'm sure he feels confident. So, but I'm looking forward to playing against them. Their offensive coordinator is a friend of mine as well. So,
okay.
It'll be fun to play, and they have a nice place over there. So we're looking forward.
Yeah, and their defense is tough too. I've got a chance to. I saw them in practice. I covered the Mountain View game. Despite the loss, their defense is fast.
Yeah, they don't give up any points. They don't give up any points. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I know, and he's a defensive guy, and I'm an offensive guy, so kind of button heads a little bit.
Yeah,
there.
well, it's going to make for a good combination. It should be an entertaining game. I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be our game of the week. We'll be there. I want to thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Good luck on Friday. So it's been a pleasure to talk to you again. It's always good to see you, and looking forward to seeing you on Friday.
Thank you for all you do. You do a great job. We appreciate you.
Thanks. All right, everyone. This is Gene with GTV, episode 9, and we are always sponsored by Photos by Gene LLC, and we will see you next time. We'll see you on the field on Friday. 7:30 is kickoff at Shiloh General Stadium.